everyone. In this video I am going to explain how to use the Pre-MultiHit team. The Pre-MultiHit team combines some of the ideas of a more advanced multi-hit team with common campaign characters that you're going to need to finish all the campaigns. We've got two elements to our team. The first of these are buffers, so these are characters that apply damage buffs to other characters, typically based on the number of hits that character has. So more hits, more of a damage buff. We're going to be using two buffers. We're going to be using Eldryon, whose Doom buff is one of the most reliable damage buffs in the game. And we're going to be using boss Gulgortz as well. Now there's lots of characters with a good number of hits available that are campaign characters. In general, you can find how many hits there are by looking at this icon here, the sort of 3 explosions and then a number. So Imospekh has 6 hits. Common campaign characters to use with a pre-multi-hit team: Bellator, very common. Imospekh, Aleph Null, Harken is slightly lower hits, but I think still good in some contexts. And Snotflogga. Snotflogga's hits seem a little bit lower, but because of his get stuck in trait and because of his passive to summon the little grots, he has more hits than it seems like. I'm going to use Imospekh. I'm going to use Bellator, and I'm going to use, I think, Snotflogga as well, because I've got boss Gulgortz. I'm not going to worry so much about Machine of War today. I'm going to use the rocket launcher just because it's the one that I happen to have leveled. Okay, the next thing to think about, there's 2 things to think about during the fight itself. The first is positioning your buffers so that they're buffing as many people as possible. For boss Gulgortz, that's when he wargs. You want as many people adjacent to him at the point at which he wargs as possible. Those units will get the buff. Orcs will get the buff wherever they are, so you don't need Snotflogga next to boss Gulgortz. Eldryon, we want 2 spots away from your target, so in this case, Tervigon. Turn 1 we're normally going to use as a setup turn. So I'm going to set up like this here. The idea is that I want to be able to warg with both of those in range on this next turn. Now I'm worried that if I don't want Tervigon to come up onto this high ground, so let's try this, but I'm worried he's going to come forward. No, this is perfect. He's stayed on low ground. So the next thing we need to be thinking about is trying to keep the boss on low ground. If we can get our units onto a high ground hex, like this one, there's an extra 50% damage that we do. This is really perfect positioning that we've got here. So I want Snotflogga in place first before I warg, just because I don't want one of the orc boys standing on top of him, or standing on the square that he wants. And now let's warg. This is going to be a big turn. Okay, good. So it's a shame that we've not got this square for Bellator, but it's fine, we can come behind here. This is still a very good square, but we do have a nice high ground square for Imospekh as well, just like that. Then, wow, that's really nice. So this is high ground plus warg plus Eldryon being in the right position. We're getting relatively quite a large damage from Snotflogga. Now I should say this is on my alt account. This is not my main account, which is why everyone's a little bit under-leveled. I'm only fighting with I think mostly S1s. I think Eldryon's bronze 2 or something close to that. The principles are still the same though. Even if you've got a much higher level team with gold. That's a note. I was expecting Tervigon might move here. So when the boss moves, it's time to just think about new positioning. So first job is getting Eldryon in the right spot. He just needs to be 2 away, so let's put him here. It's a shame we're losing the high ground. No, boss. The spot Boss Gulgortz is on at the moment is an absolutely perfect spot for Eldryon. So let's use that spot. Okay, we're going to put Snotflogga around here. We're going to put Bellator up on this high ground. We'll put Boss here claiming this high ground. LD here, and then, sorry Imospekh, you've been relegated to the low ground instead. It might have been better with Imospekh here and Eldryon here. Good. Here we go. Nice. Okay, and I've still got the... let's do another summon, I think. And we rinse and repeat. How many... This is our penultimate turns. We've got 2 turns left. Just in terms of using active abilities, had there been space here, using Bellator's active would have been nice. I know I've not got Imospekh's active leveled very very highly on this account, so I'm just using his regular attack. Eldryon's active is quite nice, but you want to leave it as late in the fight as possible because it does an amount of damage based on the number of turns that have passed. Okay, and we've got too many summons on here, so let's drop another artillery shell on instead, just like that. Nice. Okay, great. So now we're going to use Eldryon's active and just everyone else into Tervigon. And another little pot shot for luck. There we go. Okay, hopefully that was a helpful walkthrough of how to use the pre-multi-hit team. To recap, for multi-hit in general, we're using buffers that boost damage with hitters, characters with a high number of hits. Our buffers were Gulgortz and Eldryon, and our hitters were Bellator, Imospekh, and Snotflogga, but you could also have used, for example, Aleph Null, or you could have used Harken. There's lots of good options out there. During the fight, we're thinking about the positioning of our buffers to get the maximum value. So this was having lots of people next to Boss Gulgortz when he wargs, and having Eldryon 2 squares away from the boss. Then making use of high ground as much as possible. So we managed to do a good job of keeping Tervigon on the low ground here. Okay, thank you very much.